Something really interesting is happening in the Campbell River real estate market right now. Prices jumped month to month in several property types, but the longer term numbers are actually slightly down. And depending on whether you're looking at single family homes, condos, or townhomes, the market conditions are completely different. So in this update, we are going to break down exactly what's happening in the Campbell River market. We'll look at single family homes for first, then condos, then townhouses, and finally what the broader market trends mean for buyers and sellers, including what's happening across British Columbia and across Canada. Hey everyone, I'm Nixon with Robert Nixon Real Estate in Campbell River, and Robert and I help people buy and sell homes across Vancouver Island, and each month we break down the latest numbers so you can understand exactly what's happening in the real estate market. So single family market, let's start with single family. Right now, the single family market is sitting in what we call a balanced market with about 5 months of inventory. For context, around 4 months or less is a seller's market, 4 to 6 months is balanced, and more than 6 months is considered a buyer's market. So right now, single family homes are sitting right in that middle ground. And sales activity, looking at sales numbers between February 2025 and February 2026, sales moved from about 26 homes down to roughly 19 homes sold. Last month, there were about 17 sales, so activity has remained fairly consistent. Price movement, comparing January to February this year, the average price moved from roughly $680,000 to about $767,000. That's an increase of about $87,000 month over month. Now, monthly numbers can move around depending on the mix of homes that sell, but it does show that buyer demand is still very present in the single family market. And our year-to-date trend, looking at the 12-month rolling average, prices moved from roughly $750,000 last year to around $735,000 this year. That's a decline of roughly $15,000 year over year, which suggests the market has remained relatively stable overall. So what we're seeing is a pattern where monthly prices move up and down, but the longer term trend is fairly stable. But the condo market is actually showing a very different dynamic right now. So now we're going to go into the condo market. Condos have moved into what we would consider a seller's market. There are currently just under 4 months of inventory available. That means demand is slightly stronger relative to the number of available listings. And our sales activity, looking at sales numbers between February 2025 and February 2026, sales increased slightly from about 6 units to roughly 7 units. Last month, there were about 5 sales because the condo market is smaller in Campbell River. Even a few transactions can move the numbers. A monthly price range, comparing January to February, the average price moved from about $357,000 to around $466,000. That's an increase of about $109,000 month over month. Again, when a few higher end units sell in a smaller market segment, those averages can shift fairly quickly. But it does highlight that buyer demand for condos has been quite strong recently. 12-month trend, looking at the broader rolling numbers, the average price moved from roughly $439,000 last year to around $529,000 this year. But the trend data shows an overall decline about $30,000 year over year, which again suggests the market has experienced some fluctuations but remains relatively steady overall. Why condos are performing well? A big reason condos are seeing strong demand is affordability. With higher borrowing costs over the past few years, many buyers are entering the market through more affordable housing options, and condos are often the easiest entry point. But townhomes are telling a completely different story right now. Townhouses in Campbell River are currently sitting in a buyer's market with about 7 months of inventory available. That means buyers currently have more options and more negotiating power. Sales activity. Looking at the numbers of sales between February 2025 and 2026, sales dropped from about 4 homes down to 1. And last month, there was also 1 sale. So activity in the townhouse segment has been fairly slow. And our monthly price movement, comparing January to February, the average price moved from about $260,000 to roughly $505,000. That represents a jump of about $245,000 month over month. Again, with small sample sizes, a single sale can significantly influence the average price. Year-to-date comparison, looking at the 12-month rolling numbers, prices moved from about $561,000 last year to roughly $529,000 this year. That represents a decrease of about $37,000 year over year. The key takeaway, so depending on property type right now, single-family homes are in a balanced market, condos are in a seller's market, and townhouses are in a buyer's market. 3 very different market dynamics happening within the same local market, which happens frequently. Overall market trends, looking at the broader trends, single-family homes remain balanced, condos have moved into a seller's market, and townhouses remain in buyer territory. Inventory levels also tightened significantly last month. Single-family inventory dropped about 70%. Condo inventory dropped 47%. And townhouse inventory dropped 72%. And price trends, looking at the broader 12-month changes, single-family homes declined 2%, condos declined 7%, townhomes declined 6.5%. Days on market, average time on market currently sits around, for single-family homes, 55 days, condos, 100 days, and townhomes, 20 days. So British Columbia and Canada news. Looking at the bigger picture across British Columbia and Canada, the housing market has been influenced heavily by interest rates and housing supply. Over the past few years, the Bank of Canada raised interest rates significantly to combat inflation. That slowed housing activity in many parts of the country. However, communities on Vancouver Island, including Campbell River, have continued to see steady demand as people relocate for lifestyle, retirement, and remote work opportunities. Across Canada, we are also seeing buyers gradually return to the market as interest rates stabilize. If borrowing costs decline further in the future, that could bring even more buyers back into the market. So to recap the Campbell River market right now, single-family homes are in a balanced market, condos are currently in a seller's market, and townhouses are in a buyer's market. And overall, the market continues to show relative stability with short-term fluctuations. So if you're thinking about buying or selling and want to understand what these numbers mean for your situation, feel free to reach out at any time. I am Tanya Nixon with Robert Nixon Personal Real Estate Corporation.